Hey, welcome back. It's been 4 years. You know, I think in a person's life, there are seasons. You have spring, you have summer, you have fall, you have winter. My guest today is with me. We're both the same age. We're focusing on one thing, and that's giving back. And she's here to tell you what she's going to be doing. I'm excited. Everybody, Susan Wheeler.
This is so much fun.
Well, it's been like 4 years. 4 years ago, we sat in the studio and we were talking about whatever we were talking about 4 years ago, which I don't really remember. Now we're in our 60s. I can't believe you're the same age as me. And probably your focus is different than it was 4 years ago, right? Am I right about that?
It's a little different.
It is a little different.
It's a little different, but I'm always focusing on something.
So where were you 4 years ago? You know, like 2020, what was your thinking then versus where you are now? Because I know you're really clear about what you're doing now. But what were you doing then? What were you thinking back then?
Well, 4 years ago, my book was published.
Yeah,
and
tell
then
us the title.
COVID happened.
What was the title?
The Lemonade Diet.
So that ties in, right? So when life hands
you lemons.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how to make the best of it.
So how long did it take you to write that book?
My whole life.
Oh, I love that answer. That is a canned answer.
That's it's true.
Okay, but did your editor, publisher say, come on, speed it up?
Yeah, I wrote much, not as well when I was like 4 and 5 and 6.
Okay.
No, but it was my, a
it's
story
your life
from
story.
my life. Exactly.
Yeah. So how long did it take you from beginning to end to get that thing?
When I got serious and sat down and wrote it, it took me maybe 6 months.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And
you have to get serious.
I do have to get serious because I want to write a book, and I'm going to ask you to help me with that. So what is the main focus of that book? Obviously, the title gives it away, but tell us about it.
Right. It's. I heard something the other day to speak from your scar and not your wound.
Now, what's the difference?
Well, a lot of people live in that wounded place.
Still, like they're hurting and they're still reflecting on it and reacting.
And they never get better.
Oh, they never get better.
Right. But the scar is so great because it means you've overcome whatever it might be.
Oh, so wound versus scar. I get it.
Exactly, right. The wound, but a lot of people, the wound and it just festers and they keep, picking away at it. Whereas if you let things scar over, you can kind of move on and learn from that.
So why do you think people want to dig into the wound? Like seriously, emotionally, is it give them attention? Do you think? What's the secondary gain?
I think it's easier.
Oh, it's easier. Yeah.
I think it's easier, and a lot of people love to be the victim.
Right.
And I don't mind being a victim, but then I want to get better.
Right.
So I've had things happen to me.
We all have.
Right. And as the more things happen in your life, the better you get at overcoming. Mm-hmm. So at this point, when something happens to me, I don't immediately spiral down.
You don't?
No, not anymore.
I don't care anymore. Because, I heard Jerry Seinfeld say this the other day. Tell me if you think he's right. When you hit your 60s and someone says to you, hey, Jer, let's go to the movies. You're like, I don't think so. Hey, Jer, you got to see this. Nah, I don't think so. Jer, you got to check this out. He's like, I don't think so. And he goes, I can't wait till I become 70 because I won't even answer them. And I feel that way. It's like, when something happens, I have seen everything. I was watching a movie with my sister around Christmas time. It was called A Boy Named Christmas. And inside the movie, they have a line that says, you can handle everything. No, you can handle anything. That's what it was. You can handle anything because you have seen everything. You've been through it all.
Right.
It's
true. And there's only so many scenarios and you can apply whatever.
And you've reacted in the past and it hasn't been the end of the world. And who cares? Yeah. Life goes on.
You can overcome just about anything. Well, you can. And we're still here, right?
But we've
overcome everything.
You're not a victim.
I'm not a victim.
Yeah, I'm not a victim either.
I'm not a victim.
But do you know people that are victims? Mm-hmm. And can you name them publicly?
Yes. No? I have a list. I brought a list just in case. I didn't want to forget anyone.
Well, this would be a time to get rid of them because they're not going to call you after this episode. But no, I think what you're saying is absolutely right. And I think it comes down to identity. I was hurt when I was a kid. This is what happened to me when that happened. And you build this identity as the last kid that was picked at the softball game, and then you carry that. Oh, yeah, and you carry that into your adulthood.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you think you can break that pattern without spending millions of dollars in therapy?
I think the first thing you have to do is just decide that you're going to do it.
Okay. Right.
You're going to do it. I remember, if I could tell you a quick little story, when I had a bad accident when I was 34. I fell off a balcony and I shattered my pelvis, broke my ribs, my arm, my back.
Wow.
I was a mess.
Okay.
And in the recovery phase, it was probably 2 years later, we had volleyball in my backyard every summer, wherever we were. People would gather, they'd bring food and drinks, we'd play volleyball. And I remember a couple years later, I was playing volleyball, not very good, but just sort of, if the ball came near me, I could get it. And someone said, you better be careful, because if someone sees you playing volleyball, because I did have a lawsuit, and I said, I don't care if someone sees me.
Right.
It doesn't matter. I'm not going to live in that place because I would want a special reward,
Right.
whatever. I didn't want to do that.
Right.
But a lot of people want to do that, and so they become that person. Where I became a marathon runner, an ultra marathon runner.
Right.
I wanted to defy that.
It sounds like the title of your book, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking...
So true.
Right? So you're living that. How long did it take you to come up with the title and the subtitle?
I work in nutrition, so that was pretty easy,
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
And, I work in nutrition. So diet was good.
Right.
Lemons, when life hands you lemons, it's
Right.
sort of a
Yep.
big thing.
Yep,
I
sure.
love lemons.
Right.
I don't really look good in yellow, but it's it's bright and it's beautiful, and it was fun. It was sort of a play on words, but it's a mindset
Right.
diet.
Right.
It's really what it is.
Yeah.
So
I can relate to that. There was a friend of mine, Jerry Clark, who talked about doing a fast, not for food, but with your mind. Like anything negative, you have to start over. So you're doing a 30-day mental fast, and then no television, no newspapers, no media. You fast that way. And then if you find yourself in an emotional tailspin, you got to start over. And it's about building your mindset towards positive. You're focusing on what's good in life versus, oh, you're not going to believe what happened to me today, which everybody can do, right?
I kind of hate that.
You do? Okay.
When people say, you're not... you hear, as long as they've gotten over it, I
Right.
want to hear,
Right.
oh, well, what did you do?
Did you make the lemonade?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I love that, because
Right.
that's inspiring.
Exactly.
Everybody gets hurt or has something bad happen to them, and when you can look at someone that's overcome something, it makes you feel like you could do it too.
So when you write a book, now I haven't, you're an author, I'm not, but I will be soon. When you write a book, there's two stories. The story of a person that had a wound or had a problem or had a setback and they overcame it. It could be Cinderella, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's wonderful. And then there's another story where the person just hits bottom and doesn't recover. It's a warning.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn used to talk about this. He says there's two types of stories. One that you want to emulate and say, look at Susan, I want to do what she's doing. And then you have other stories that are warnings. You don't want to be that guy. This guy, and I don't want to name names, but this guy was a disaster, and he died all alone, and that is a warning. He used to say that all the time.
And if you watch a movie like that,
Yeah.
don't you hate it?
You do hate it.
It's so depressing.
You almost want your money back.
Exactly. I didn't come here for that. I wanted to find the good news.
I have been in movies where you come to the end thinking it's going to be a happy story, or you think it's going to be like good news. And it's not.
It's not.
Just, it's terrible news. And it's just like, oh my God, the
You
guy,
feel ripped off.
he killed himself, and that's how it, I remember being in a movie theater one time, and we just sat there for like a minute or two, that was it.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
And the credits start rolling, and you're like, what?
So you have this new project. We talked about it this afternoon. I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
It is called The What?
The Good News Girls.
Oh, my gosh. So tell us about that.
I'm super excited. I'm doing it with a friend.
Yep.
And her name is Mimi.
Okay.
And we have really joined together with our years of wisdom. Gosh, over 100 years of wisdom.
Wait a minute.
Well
100?
over 100.
Really? Okay.
Well,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, you have to do the math.
Okay.
It sounds better that way. And we are really looking at what we're calling Act 3, but that sounds so final as I'm looking at the curtains.
Well, no, I mean, I feel this way. We are in the winter of our life. At the beginning of the show, I mentioned spring and
I prefer fall, but go
you
ahead.
do? Well, you look like you would be a fall girl with the color of your hair and all that, and and I'm a fall. But we are in winter. We are in the last.
The truth.
And it's all about giving back, and I think it is Act 3.
It is Act 3.
It is Act 3.
But Act 3 can be the beginning or the end. And what I found is that a lot of people look at the winter, Act 3,
Yep.
whatever you want to call it, and they think they're sort of done growing. And I believe if you're not growing, you're dying.
Right.
And I feel like I have good 40 years left.
Well, I hope you do. I feel
I'm going to go with that. Anyway.
that in my 60s
Right.
that I'm just beginning. I really feel that the spring was easy. The summer was tough. It was very tough. The fall was great. Fall for me was 50 to 60. And now I'm moving into winter. But for me, I really feel that I'm building on everything that I learned before.
Exactly.
Like I'm taking everything that I've experienced. I don't have to take a course, per se. I don't have to listen to somebody per se. I just need to take my experience and focus it on one and then give back, and it's not a time to hibernate and just die.
I was just going to say the word hibernate.
You were.
Well, because
Okay.
a lot of people do that, and there's this stage of life, and this is geared for women
Okay.
who are over 50.
So how can I get in?
You can't.
Oh, I can't. It's closed to men.
It's closed to
Oh
men.
my gosh. All right.
I'm sorry.
What if I was a silent partner? No?
I will consult with you because I love to run ideas back and forth with you.
But I can't get into the program.
No, this is for women.
All right, that's
yeah,
fine.
this is strictly for women.
Okay.
And it is, I think a lot of women are at this point where they're maybe retiring. I
Right,
know
right.
women that are retiring,
Sure.
women that are empty nest,
Right.
women that are widowed.
I was going to say widowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's next?
Well, they need a community, don't you think?
Exactly.
You know-
And that's what it is.
Okay.
It's a community full of good news.
So how did you get this idea? Where did it come from?
It really came from having someone that you talk to and bounce ideas back and forth. And I work with a lot of women, and I have for many years. And that's the underlying thing. I think women long for community.
Yep.
They long for purpose.
Yep.
They long for a sense of belonging to something. This is not for business. We're not teaching business skills.
No, because by this time you're pretty much done with that, right? You would think retirement is really on the horizon, no?
Exactly, but social circles change when we're older.
How so?
Well, when I was raising my kids, I saw the parents, the soccer parents,
Yeah.
the baseball parents.
Right.
I was PTO. I did all the things. I saw them all the time.
Right.
And your kids get out of school and you're like, where's all my friends?
Right, right.
Where did my friends go? Because you're not running in the same circles.
Sure.
So there's not really a circle for a lot of people unless they have something. And if they do have something, it might be really small.
Right.
And, sometimes when you get in a really small circle, it can
Be myopic, it can be very closed-minded.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this is big thinking, but it's really for what you want from it. There will be so much. I've met so many people along the way. Now, you could be a guest.
Oh, okay.
You
Then
could,
that's fine. Yeah.
Right.
Let me be a guest.
You can't be a member.
No, all
You
right,
can't be
okay.
part of it. But yes, it's not just about, hearing from women, but it's bringing all sorts of things to the community.
Well, about a year ago, didn't you speak in Connecticut for a women's conference?
Yes, the WOW Forum.
Okay, and your daughter was there too.
Yeah, we
And-
spoke together.
Okay, I wasn't there because I was.
You could have.
I could have been there. Okay, I didn't know
could
that.
have, yeah, but
I
it was
did-
for women.
I did see the video.
Yeah.
So maybe now, did that have something to do with you thinking about this? Did that plant a seed? Here you are at a conference as a speaker for women. Was that? What do you think?
I think that it's just sort of been something that's been bubbling
Okay.
under the surface,
Okay.
and I didn't know how to put it together.
I see, okay.
So now that's what we're doing,
Okay.
is putting it together. I knew it was needed, but how do you bring it? How do you...
How do you bring the value? What's the channel?
Yeah, how do you create that community?
A membership online would be a way.
Exactly.
So who are your people? Who's the tribe? What are their concerns? And I guess this is easy because you're a woman, you're at the same age of the people that you're talking to. So what are their concerns? What are their things that they're focusing on this time of their life?
I think a lot of women don't know what to do next.
Oh, they don't.
They get to this point.
But that's not you.
No.
That's not you.
No, but I think business-wise, and
Yeah.
I've worked with so many women, how can I help?
Right.
I will never retire.
Right. And it's
Never.
not that you can't, because you can.
Right.
You just don't want to.
I don't want to because
Yeah.
I love what I do. I think there's a purpose
Yeah.
for what I do.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's definitely a purpose for what I do. And I want more. I was talking to a friend. I was in Florida last week. And he said, "What's your purpose?" I said, I don't want to be here alone. I want to bring people with me.
Mm-hmm.
I think when people have a sense of purpose and they belong to something,
Mm-hmm.
they're more likely to be healthier
Yes.
and more optimistic and positive and live longer and all those things.
I think the psychological impact does affect your health.
Yeah.
Yeah, you having a
absolutely.
purpose. If you don't have a purpose, have you heard this guy, Donald Miller? Have you ever read any of his books?
I don't think so.
He talks about Viktor Frankl, where he talks about a narrative void. And this comes from Viktor Frankl. The book is The Search for, no, it's not The Search of Excellence, The Search of Meaning. I forget the name of the book, but it's Viktor Frankl. And what he talks about is everybody needs to have a purpose. And when you don't have a purpose, there's what he calls a narrative void. Like my life, my story, my direction in my life, there is none. It's just crazy, whatever happens. And so he says when people have a story that they can live out of, they're a lot more happier. A Man's Search for Meaning, I think, is the name of the book, Viktor Frankl. Have you ever read it? It's a
No.
classic.
No.
So, yeah, he was in
I
the
should.
concentration camps, and they asked him, why did you survive where everyone else died? And he says, I had a purpose. My purpose was I couldn't wait to get out of here to tell the story of how I survived.
Right.
So it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And so I think in today's culture, especially with social media, people look at social media and they're like, look at this guy, look at this woman, they're doing so great, but they don't know the whole story.
Right.
And then they feel less than, and if they don't have a story or, what Viktor Frankl calls a narrative void, depression, alcohol, suicide thoughts, negative, it's terrible.
Don't they say that when someone goes into battle?
Yep.
Like, if you can't see yourself having dinner with your family
Right.
tomorrow night after the battle, you're not going to make it through the battle.
Right. Makes
so,
sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Something like
Your
that.
your vision for the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it really is true that a lot of people, they don't know what's next. It's like sliding into home plate.
Yep.
Hitting it out of the park, and each base could even represent the season, right?
Yep.
And they slide into home, but it's not over yet.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So now what? But
Right.
a lot of people, they get around the bases, and there's still more, but they've exhausted themselves and they don't know what's next. And that's why a lot of people stay in a bad relationship or a career
Yep.
that doesn't serve them,
Right.
or living in a state
Right.
or a home or whatever that they don't love, because it's just easier
Right.
to stay
You
than it is to...
You accept the devil that you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So last year, December 31st,
Is that your birthday?
no, my birthday's Christmas, but
Christmas.
during that time period, Christmas to like New Year's, I sit down and I journal and I figure out goals. And for the last 10, 20, 30 years, I've been saying, okay, where am I going to be in 10 years? Where am I going to be in 15 years? So this is the first time that I sat down and I said, okay, where am I going to be in 20 years? And I went, oh my gosh. I could be dead. I could be in a nursing home. I could be retired, right? Because I'm 61, so I'm going 71, 81. I've never looked at my life saying, this is sliding into home base. And I looked at that and went, this is really strange. Because I did this in my 20s, and I figure, okay, I'm looking out to my 50s. Now I'm looking out to my 60s. Now I'm looking out to a different era of my life. And after talking to you, I'm thinking, thegoodnewsboys.com doesn't look that bad.
That's a great idea.
What do you think? And you could be a guest. You could be a guest on my.
I will come and speak to your boys, and you can speak to my girls.
But no, I'm thinking about it's like, I'm thinking about retirement. I'm looking at my 401k. I'm looking at my pension. I'm looking at Social Security. I'm saying to myself, how long do I want to do this for? Do I want to do this? I have all those questions. Even as a man, I'm thinking the same thing.
And as I've been in business for so many years, and I build teams,
right.
People will often stay with a business or a team longer than they really want to because of the community.
Yes.
People don't want to let that go.
You know why people leave jobs? Not because they don't like it. They don't like the manager. They don't like their boss.
That's what it boils down to. It might not even be the work that they do.
Right, exactly.
It's the community that they're with. But when this is a community with no work for people.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, it's not like I'm building a team of people. They don't have to come in and do a business. There's no sales quotas to meet.
Right.
It is
Monday more meetings.
It is content that really fills your soul and your heart and really gets you thinking and motivated. And I'm so excited about it. I know when something is great and exciting when I have those butterflies in my stomach.
Right.
Yeah.
I could be the chaplain. There you go. I could,
Yes!
I could bring the if you meet on Monday, the minute from the whatever, something like that. Inspirational, sermon.
The sermon, right.
So how are people going to get involved? Are they just going to go to a website?
Yeah, we're still putting all of this together right now, depending on when you're watching this. But we're putting this together. It's set to launch in June.
Okay, good.
So that's the...
And it's thegoodnewsgirls.com?
Thegoodnewsgirls.com.
And that's you two. It's both of you.
Mimi and Susan, right. Okay. And we are the Good News Girls.
Okay.
And we are bringing Good News Girls.
That's good. So it's got a double meaning to it.
It does.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's all positive and uplifting and a lot of sources. And we have both met so many people in our journey over the years and all the things that we've both done. So we have a lot to bring.
So what are the topics? We touched on a few of them, but what are the topics that you really feel strong about that women in this last phase of their life, winter, Act 3, are concerned about?
I think we thrive on community. So I think relationships are important.
Right.
Health is important.
Relationships, health. Yeah.
If you don't have your health,
you have nothing.
No. So I'm, talking about good health.
Right.
And it's all kinds of things. It's, physically, it's our diet, it's our mindset, it's our environment, all of that. So it's health, travel. We're going to talk about a lot about that and a lot about things that women go through. It's interesting that, well, I feel like you're kind of my girlfriend.
I don't know how to accept that.
We've always had great conversations, so we flow back and forth. But it's funny. So we could be like in business. I could tell you something about business that is vulnerable to me.
Sure.
That I would feel uncomfortable telling, and you would get it. Right? You would say,
sure.
And then you would say, oh, gosh, Susan, I've been through that, and this is what I did. It's that kind of thing, because a lot of times, women in their 50s and 60s and beyond, things are different. Relationships are different. Everything is a little different. I went into Walgreens, and the woman asked my age, and I thought, oh.
Why? Why did they ask you?
Well, because I qualified for the senior discount.
How did you feel about that?
It felt really,
right?
Gosh, it was hard. I hope I didn't mess this up. It was really hard.
Right? Isn't that weird when you get the, magazine in the mail and you're qualified for a senior
But it was like that. I thought,
like
a lot of times people say, oh, wow, I can't believe you're, 61. And then, I apparently looked like I was a senior.
Yeah.
So that kind of hurt my feelings. But it's okay. But I'm saying all these different things that we're navigating, and it's hard to, where do you go to talk about it. But when you're in a community, so
right. It's a safe community.
It's safe to
people
be able
that
to
have
talk
the
about.
same things
It's
in
like,
common.
oh, you too.
You too, yeah. Me too, you too.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I can see that. It really has got me thinking just about life in general. I was doing a lecture the other day on Long Island, and we were talking about the topic of focus. And I was
the lecture on Long Island on Long Island?
It was on. It was in. It was.
You were in Long Island.
Yes, I was
on
in.
The
Long,
okay.
I was there. I remember there, unless it was a dream. And I do this at the end, questions and answers. And one of the ladies had a question. She says, "Okay, I understand how to focus, but I don't have that much time." Like, I just looked at the director. He said we had 5 minutes, and I'm like, "Okay, we have 5 minutes on the show." But she was mentioning that life is so short. And I'm like, yes. And I said to the woman, I can still see her, I said, you're absolutely right. And I said, I almost think it's a blessing, because when your life is limited, you have to figure out what's important, right? If you knew you were going to live forever, or you knew you were going to live 500 more years, you probably wouldn't have showed up here tonight. But you just don't care, because you have so much time. But when you know that maybe you only have a decade left, you have 20 years left, or as you said, 40 years left, I think you start reevaluating maybe it's a midlife crisis, but you start thinking about what is really important. And I think for most people, it is family. I really think, it's the daughter, the wife, the husband, the brother, the sister, the relationships, the friends, girlfriend.
My girlfriend.
You know what I mean? I really think it's connection. I think you're going to do really well with this, because you're hitting a need, and you're not selling anything.
No.
It's not like you're saying, buy my insurance, or this is sponsored by, GregDwyer.com or anything crazy like that. You're just providing community for people who need it. Mm-hmm. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm super excited about it. And can I say something else?
You have 3 minutes. You can say whatever you
want.
want.
So 3 minutes. And isn't that funny that you said 3
Why?
minutes?
Why?
Because I was with my husband and some friends. We went to an escape room. Have you ever done that?
I have heard. I don't know if I would handle that okay. I'm very much...
I was thinking about you today, because you're smart like that. I would love to go to it would be fun.
Okay.
Anyway.
Now you got 2 minutes.
We're at the escape room. And we had 1 hour.
Oh, yeah.
And we were down to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And we were so close, and we knew we had 3 minutes left. And
do they let the air out of the room? What do they do?
No, they don't. You just can't win.
Oh, my God.
But you can't win. But there were 3 minutes left, and we still had a couple things that we were so close. We had a couple things to figure out. And one person in our crew, who will remain nameless, because I don't want to embarrass anyone, that was like, well, that's it. We have 3
lost.
minutes. Whereas I am like, we have 3 minutes.
Yes.
We've got this.
So
I don't care if you have 3 weeks, 3 months,
right.
3 minutes, 3 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
There's still time.
Right.
Keep going.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Growing.
I think you're right. I think your perception might shift, because people in their 20s think of things differently than people in their 50s or 60s or 80s. I remember my dad. I'm turning into my dad. I remember my dad saying, well, you'll find out, or you'll see this, or I'm beginning to see things the way maybe he did in his 70s. You look at the world differently.
Right.
But yeah, I think this is a wonderful thing that you're doing.
I'm so excited about it.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
so.
I can't wait to see where we are. Do we have to wait 4 more years to get together?
No, we haven't done television in 4 years. This is really crazy.
So am I on the 4-year schedule?
Well, I needed the time to grow out the beard. It took me 4 years to grow out the beard.
That long? It took 4 years?
So now that the beard is out.
Maybe you can be in our women's group.
I'm just saying it wasn't easy. I was living in my basement, 6 feet from everybody, and at the same time I was socially distancing, wasn't doing anything. And the truth is, Susan, I loved every minute of it. Anyway, I want to thank you for being on the show. Thank you very much.
For having me.
I'm very happy for you, and I know you're going to be very successful giving back in your 60s, which, by the way, I don't think you look 60 at all.
You're so sweet. That's why I keep you around.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I just want to say this. Be focused and be great. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.